Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Corey Yoder of Coriander Quilts, and today I have a Scrappy Irish Chain update. I don't know about you and where you're at with your blocks, but I am going to share my progress as well as a fun new free Scrappy block project. So stick around. So, how many blocks have I completed over the last month or so? You will be unsurprised to know I have a grand total of one more block completed, and it's one of the ones that takes more time. So at least I checked off a time-consuming one. I have 5 of these done and just one of the B blocks. So I am slowly but surely plugging along. If you're like me in the slow but sure camp, we will camp together. So one more of those. I am debating about whether I want to maybe just make this be a 3 across by 3 down design rather than, I think is it 5 across by 5 down? I'd have to look at my pattern. I think 5 by 5 is what the pattern calls for. And I'm debating about 3 by 3. Keeping it with an odd number like that would still give that same sort of repetition that you get in the 5 by 5, but it would require less blocks. So I guess we'll have to wait and see till my next Scrappy Irish Chain update to see if I decided to continue with that larger layout size or if we're downsizing. I'm not sure. The smaller size would work really nice for the charity project that I shared a couple videos back. That would mean that this could be a project that I could donate, which would be a really nice thing to do. So that's why I'm kind of maybe thinking in that direction. We will see what happens. Let me know in the comments how you are coming along with your Scrappy Irish Chain blocks. If you're new to the Scrappy Irish Chain Scrap Along, I'll link to the videos I've shared so far for the Quilt Along, but it's been really fun using up some of my scraps and seeing so many of you use your scraps as well. If you're in the Coriander Quilts Facebook group, there have been some really neat variations of the quilt. As designed, the pattern has a lot of negative space, a lot of blank space. So some of the group members have been adding in Dresdens or applique or something really neat in that space. So I'll link to my Facebook group down below too, in case that's something that you want to check out. Now, let's move on to the free block pattern. These have been a lot of fun to share with all of you. If you haven't seen these, we started with the Scrappy Heart block. Good news for those of you who have been asking me for a written pattern for the Scrappy Heart block. This was one that I shared only verbally in a YouTube video, and I had so many of you that were wanting a written pattern for this block as well. So I am sharing that today along with today's new Scrappy block. So you will have 2 block patterns over there that you can download if you want to. My blog is corianderquilts.com, and again, that will be linked below. But we started with the Scrappy Heart block. The next block I shared was the Scrappy Clover block, all in these pretty greens. So this is already a written pattern that you can download if you'd want to. These are just PDF downloads. I don't have them available for sale or in a paper version. They're just download and use as you would like. So Scrappy Clover was the second block. And today we have a Scrappy Tulip block. And I thought this was perfect for spring. It incorporates the same scrappiness as the previous 3 months, and I think it's so pretty in the yellows and greens. I had originally been thinking about doing this in pink. I think that would be really pretty too. Of course, you could do a whole quilt of all kinds of colors, which would be just beautiful. I think we all maybe get into the spring flower frame of mind as we get into this time of year. So we have Scrappy Tulips. Now, I want to take a little bit of time and show you this block and the pattern and talk about that a little bit. So the pattern is just a 1-sheet pattern you can print out. And this is what the quilt could look like if you did 4 across by 5 down. I think that would be so pretty. And then just imagine that in all colors or in yellows and greens, just like I have it. Either way, it's a great way to use up your scraps. This block uses only squares or half square triangles. And you're going to see up here, this block finishes at 12 inches. And these are your fabric requirements that you will need. And really, as you work your way down through the pattern, we start by making half square triangles. And we'll need green ones and we need yellow ones. And you'll see those in the block here. We have the green half square triangles and then the yellows. And then once you have those half square triangles done, you're ready to piece together the block. So really just 2.5-inch squares and 3-inch squares of the various colors that you'll need, yellow, green, and your background. And that's it. It's a great scrap buster. You'll sew together in horizontal rows, pressing each adjacent row in opposite directions. And then to sew all of the rows together, you're going to press those all in one direction. I want to show you the pressing on the back here so you can see how that looks. I pressed all of the half square triangles open, just as the pattern shows. And then we have pressing to the left, pressing to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left, as we work our way down through. And then the last section, all of the seams I have pressed down. Now I do have one tip noted here on the pattern. If you are wanting to sew a bunch of these blocks together into one project, like what you see here, I would recommend alternating the direction that you press those last seams so that half of them would be pressed down while the other half would be pressed up. And that is going to allow you to place these side by side with nesting seams, which is wonderful when we can have that happen. So you'll see that tip mentioned down here. And that is your Scrappy Tulip block. Let's just lay all of these out together so we can kind of see how pretty they are. I don't have any definite number of these Scrappy blocks that I'm going to be releasing. Just as I have an idea, I've been doing them, and I was debating about what I wanted to do for this month. I had a flower idea in my head. I wanted to do some sort of a flower. I know some of you mentioned in the last video when I shared this clover block that you thought it would be really cute to turn this into flowers, which was something I had thought about. If you are doing that, you might consider snowballing these center corners here and putting a little flower center right here, because that would make just a really cute flower. And so when I was considering this month, I thought, yes, we do need a definite flower block, and I think that is super cute. If you have any suggestions of other blocks that you think would be really fun to have scrapified, like what I've been doing here, feel free to let me know down in the comments. I've gotten some really neat suggestions about block ideas that you all would like to see made scrappy. So if you've thought of something, feel free to let me know below. And if it's something that works well to turn into a scrappy block, I will definitely consider doing that. And we will see how many more of these fun little scrappy blocks we can come up with. Like I said, I don't know how many I'm going to do, but I've really been enjoying them. They've been a lot of fun and such a great way to use up your scraps, because I think a lot of us have, you know, those 2.5-inch squares, 3-inch squares. And so this is a great way that we can use them up. All right, I think that wraps up today's video. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know down below. And I do thank you for stopping by, and I will catch you again next time.